My name's Jim Piper and I'm President of Science and Technology Australia, and it's my job to welcome you here to Science Meets Parliament 2016, the 16th in the series of Science Meets Parliament. Given the new prominence of science and technology in the national economic policy agenda, I think it's pretty likely we'll look back on this SMP 2016 as perhaps the most important of recent times, maybe of any time. And I really welcome you to participate in the event. Science Meets Parliament is strongly supported by the Australian Government of a Department of Industry, Innovation and Science through its organisation Inspiring Australia. And there are a number of other sponsors from both public and private sectors. These latter include Swiss, who will be sponsoring the gala dinner tonight, CropLife Australia, CSIRO, ANSTO, Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organisation, and UniSuper, who sponsor the National Press Club lunch tomorrow. Importantly also, the program is strongly supported by Parliamentary Friends of Science, the most active cross-party group in the Parliament. We're most grateful both for the financial support from government and our sponsors, without which Science Meets Parliament could not run, and also the support of members of Parliament themselves for help in promoting Science Meets Parliament and its vital program of meetings with their very busy colleagues. In day one of our program, you'll be exposed to a range of professional development activities to help you understand the highly complex environment of policy making in a parliamentary democracy, and thereby help you to better communicate your science to the media, policy makers and politicians. Catriona Jackson, CEO of Science and Technology Australia, and her STA team have assembled a stellar collection of experts in science communications, science policy and politics for today's program. We'll shortly be hearing from Professor Brian Schmidt, Nobel laureate and Vice-Chancellor of the Australian National University, about his extensive experience in presenting science to politicians and influencing government science policy. We'll follow with a panel of media experts discussing how science becomes news, and hear about the newly announced Science Innovation, National Innovation and Science Agenda from Sue Wilson-Weston, Deputy Secretary of Department of Industry, Innovation and Science. Later this morning, an expert panel will be discussing how science is used to shape public policy. The afternoon will focus on developing your skills in dealing with the media and politicians and getting your science message across. We will hear first from a panel of Science Meet Parliament alumni, and then be guided through a process of putting together your science pitch. This is tremendously valuable, and I encourage you to be fully involved. This can lead, for some of you, right to the top. Today will culminate in the gala dinner in the Great Hall of Parliament, hosted by Bernie Hobbs, ABC Science broadcaster, with guest speakers, leading businessman Mr. Andrew Stevens, the Honourable Christopher Pyne, Minister for Industry, Innovation and Science, and the Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Bill Shorten. This is a wonderful opportunity to extend your professional and political network. Day two of the program will give you a chance to soak up the atmosphere of Parliament House and learn more about the political process. We are very lucky to start the day with the immediate past Chief Scientist of Australia, Professor Ian Chubb, to tell you about his experience in achieving major science policy change leading to the present prominence of science and technology. And we'll be hearing from the present Chief Scientist, Dr. Alan Finkel, at the National Press Club over lunch. Between them, the Shadow Minister, Senator Kim Carr, will be answering questions about opposition policy. Senator Carr is an outspoken and passionate supporter of science in Australia, so take your opportunity to ask about the things that affect you and your science. After lunch, you can observe question time firsthand and engage in a discussion of how science and politics mix in the real world, with the Assistant Minister for Science, the Honourable Karen Andrews, Shadow Minister Richard Miles, and Adam Brandt, Green spokesman for Industry, Energy, Science and Research, with, of course, Professor Aidan Byrne, CEO of the ARC. Most importantly, you will have an opportunity sometime during the day to meet with a politician, usually with their advisors, and a small group of science colleagues, to put the skills you've learnt today into practice and perhaps make a valuable connection and inspire mutual interest in the longer term. It's unrealistic to think that a brief meeting with a politician tomorrow will change the world, but nurturing the contacts and skills you gain over these 2 days can provide a lifetime of benefit. Finally, we'll end the event by sharing drinks with the Parliamentary Friends of Science, the biggest parliamentary friendship group in the current Parliament. This event will be attended by the Assistant Minister and her parliamentary colleagues. Please don't miss it. It's surprising who you might meet there, and please take advantage of that. I hope you enjoy this truly memorable and enriching experience of Science Meets Parliament 2016. Now, Catriona Jackson, CEO of SDA, has a few more words about the meetings and other arrangements. Thank you.
I'm feeling very un-high-tech with my paper. Jim had a machine. If you were unlucky enough to hear me on Red Simons this morning, I'm really sorry. He asked me whether there were going to be 200 sock and sandal wearing people turning up in Canberra. I said no. I don't see a single sock and sandal in here. I'm actually a little disappointed. I have sandals, no socks. One of the enormous pleasures of Science Meets Parliament is reading through all of your biographies. You are such an incredibly interesting lot. I mean, we have people, I'm going to have to read some of this, we have people working on defences against superbugs, we have people tackling Alzheimer's through radiotherapy, there's someone applying game theory to electronic voting. Who is that? I want to see a hand, please. Come on, game theory and electronic voting. There are 2 of you in the room, I think. Oh, look, don't say they're the only ones who are late. I really want to meet those people. You have an extraordinary amount of knowledge. You have an extraordinary quantity of enthusiasm. I can just tell from reading on the page and looking around the room, you can see it. Let's show the parliamentarians what you've all got tomorrow, hey? So today is not about us, despite evidence to the contrary right now, talking at you. There'll be plenty of time for discussion from the floor through all the sessions. There'll be a bit of getting up and down, especially with Rod and Will from CPAS this afternoon. So don't worry, you're not going to sit there all day. I'm really thrilled with the numbers of people who've already kicked off the Twitter conversation. I know not everyone tweets, but I urge you to think about it. We'll have a wall up at some point in the room with the tweets, so just keep in mind that when you tweet, if you tweet about the person next to you, it's going to be on the wall right behind you. So, you know, a little bit of discretion is a good idea. There are some people in the room you should know from the outset. Members of the SDA Executive and Board, can you stand up, please? No hiding, no hiding. These people are your representatives. Make sure you nab them at morning tea or afternoon tea or dinner. At least say hello. Some of them represent you in your discipline clusters. Some of them are members of the executive. I'm not going to go through all the names because apart from anything else, you know what, I'll get one wrong and they'll never forgive me. But keep them in your mind and harass them any time, especially if there's a queue of people harassing me. Feel free to grab one of those guys. So, as Jim said, today is all about preparation for those meetings tomorrow. You'll put everything you learned today into practice tomorrow. Everyone who has expressed enthusiasm or is a regular delegate will have had an email with a meeting schedule on it. If you don't have an email with a meeting schedule and you think you should, Gia and Tim down the back, can you wave Gia and Tim with the computers in front of them looking terminally underslept and distracted? Go and have a talk to Gia and Tim. When I say go and have a talk to them if you don't have an email or you have an issue, that doesn't mean I wanted to see Malcolm Turnbull when I didn't get Malcolm Turnbull. Everybody wants to see Malcolm Turnbull. So genuine issues like you don't understand the schedule, you haven't got one you really think you should have, go and have a talk to those guys. The meeting schedule has already changed and it will keep changing. We're talking 50, 60, 70 parliamentarians who have a huge number of crushing competing priorities. So they change their times, which means we have to change. So the piece of paper you probably have tucked into your bag or on your screen will change. So tomorrow We'll project it up on the wall. It'll be a fantastic dynamic document with all the changes listed all the time. Keep your eyes on it because meeting times will change. We have almost all your mobiles, so we'll be able to call you and say, hey, hold on a minute, don't go and get that cup of coffee now, come back. But if you can just make sure you really keep alive to that schedule up on the wall, because there's nothing worse than missing meetings. Last year, I don't think we missed a single one. That was the first one. We've never missed one, and we are not going to miss one this time, are we? No one's going to miss a meeting, are they? No? Complete lack of nod. Most of our parliamentarians are very keen to hear about pretty much whatever you've got to say. Some, however, have extremely specific requests. We have one MP, I'm reading this out in ACTS, I need to know if any of you know anything about any of these things, who are keen to talk about biological control of sycamores. Do we have a biological control of sycamore person in the room? No. Ivy and onion weed. Ivy and onion weed experts? Usually we have someone. It's extraordinary. European wasps. Come on, we must have a European wasp person. Okay, we're going to have to disappoint is it Jason Wood? Yes, we're going to have to disappoint Jason Wood MP, who is very, very keen to talk about those three things. Thank you anyway. Look, that's enough from me. If there are things that are worrying you or confusing you, come and have a talk to us down the back. Lots of the stuff about tomorrow will become clear through the process today, so don't panic. Most importantly, enjoy yourself, and Jim will come back to introduce Brian.